Over the last 30 years, we have seen the value of our work diminish and the price of real assets like land and homes increase to the point that for most people under the age of 40, the hope of owning their own home has been lost. The response of governments around the world to the 2008 global financial crisis and COVID was to defer the cost of these events to the future. They did this by printing money, in effect selling our futures to pay for their bad decisions. This is corporatism, not capitalism. Money printing didn't hurt those in power, nor those who supported them, because they had real assets, property, shares in businesses that rose in price to match the inflation of money supply. But for most of us around the world, it sold our future for a fraction of its value. In response to this, a mysterious figure known as Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin. He wanted to create a currency that could not be printed on command, thereby devaluing our labor. A currency that could be traded electronically between people without intermediation, allowing all of us to participate fairly in the economy. But if you tried to buy your groceries with Bitcoin, you'd stand at the checkout for at least 10 minutes, probably hours, waiting for the transaction to process, and the fee would cost you more than the carton of eggs and bag of apples. Bitcoin's limitations meant that it stopped being considered a currency in 2016 and was instead called a store of value. But it opened the door for someone to create a genuine currency that nobody controlled, but everyone could use. That someone is us. We created the Gajumaru blockchain and the Gaju currency. The Gaju is real money you can use, whether that is to buy a loaf of bread, pay for a haircut, buy a t-shirt, in fact buy or sell anything. It is a currency for everyday use. On Gaju Market, anyone can buy and sell any legal goods or services, just like you would on eBay, but at a fraction of the cost. Like Bitcoin, Gajus are mined on a computer. Unlike Bitcoin, mining Gajus does not require specialized equipment, nor huge power supplies. During our protected rollout, you can mine this on everyday computers, like the ones that sit in your home doing nothing for most of the day. We are working to get millions of people like you to mine the Gajumaru and be rewarded with Gajus that you can then use as real money. At the end of 2026, the Gajumaru will open to public mining. By then, we will have brought together millions of people like you to mine the Gajumaru. This will create such powerful combined computing capacity across so many millions of people that the Gajumaru can remain highly decentralized, enabling an economy for the people, by the people. To make all of this possible, we offer a variety of mining packages that combine all of the software and services you need on our website, gajumining.com. The software is simple to install, and there is a step-by-step guide that will get you mining and participating quickly and easily. You can buy those packages now. You can start mining the Gajumaru and being rewarded in Gajus now. Select a suitable mining package from the gajumining.com web store. Install and activate the software on your device and start mining today. This is an opportunity to be part of a movement to restore our humanity, our dignity, our sovereignty, creating a better future for everyone. For the first time in thousands of years, you will directly benefit from your work, your ideas, without being taxed by intermediaries or needing permission to be part of the global economy. We believe that capitalism is I win, you win, we all win, not I win, you lose. That's corporatism. We refuse to pursue venture funding that would demand we play the corporatist game, and chose instead to grow this movement by giving everyone the opportunity to benefit from their contribution to the movement. Just like being able to mine Bitcoin in 2008 or 2009, getting early access to mining the Gajumaru now allows you to mine the greatest number of Gajus and benefit most from being part of this movement. We want to share that with you. We want the whole world to be part of this. We want everyone who cares about our future to get on board and take this from a movement to a reality. We want to see an economy for the people, by the people, now. Join us. Put your fingerprints on humanity's story, our history. Be a leader in the economic emancipation of humanity. It's simple. Go to gajumining.com, select the mining package that's right for you, and get started today.
Here's another unlawful stop. Let's see what they want now.
Hello, I'm Officer Stanfield, Rexburg Police Department. Reason for the stop is your fictitious plate.
That's not fictitious. It's actually been deregistered. Okay. It's private. There's all the...
I just need your registration,
That's
license.
It.
I need her license.
That's it.
I'm not talking to you. I need her license, the registration, and the insurance for the vehicle.
Still trying to hand it to you.
This is the registration?
Yep, and the insurance.
Okay.
How is the passport?
I need a driver's license.
She doesn't have a driver's license. She's traveling. This is a private conveyance.
I don't do this.
Don't do what?
I don't do the whole sovereign citizen thing.
It's not a sovereign citizen thing. It's a private conveyance. That's why there's no Idaho plate.
Stop. In Idaho, you need to have a license to drive on the public roads.
I'm not in the state of Idaho. I'm in the territory of Idaho. Can you please write your ticket? We'll be happy to accept any ticket you want.
Okay. That's 24. Can I get another?
You're not in any danger here.
I know.
I deal with these all the time.
And you should just register your vehicle and get a license.
Right, I should actually give my property away to the state, right? That's what happens. You don't understand that. You're giving your property to the state. That's why you have to pay them a fee every year.
Yeah, I mean...
This is mine. I own it.
Okay.
I don't pay anybody to travel on the roadways. My tax is already paid for. Supreme Court's already ruled on that, but they don't teach you guys that because they want you out here trying to take money from people and write citations. Do you know where those go, your citations?
To the office in Rexburg Police Department.
Yeah, it's not what happens with them. What they do is they unlawfully put those debts against people.
Okay.
And then they throw people in jail for admiralty crimes when there is no common law violation. You have to have a victim to have a crime under the common law. They don't teach you that. They want you guys out here victimizing your fellow Americans, pretending like we're criminals because we're traveling out here without some corporate state's license plate on our own personal conveyances.
So why do you have it insured?
Because I don't want to have anybody else lose their property if somebody that's operating my conveyance accidentally runs into them. I'm a law-abiding man. I'm not going to rob anybody of something.
And I appreciate your effort. I appreciate you getting your insurance for that.
Mm-hmm. I'm not required to have insurance either, by the way. But I do carry it because I'm responsible.
Thank you. So the Hartford is the deregistration? Is that...
The Hartford's the insurance.
Okay, so...
And this is the bond for the vehicle. The law says it has to be bonded. So that's the bond, the ACORD certificate.
175, even 22, thanks. Okay.
If you'd like to write me a ticket, please do so. Just make it out to that address. I'll accept it.
You would probably think I'm not on your side on this. I'm probably one of the more libertarian officers. Okay, I believe in the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the government should not have any corporate hold on people.
Yeah,
I agree with that. But per Idaho statute, to travel on the public roadway, you need to have registration and a license.
Okay, so let me explain something if you don't mind. Okay? Do you have a passport? In fact, open that passport up if you'd like to the back, or wherever it says citizen/national. It's on there. I can find it for you if you'd like. But this tells you right here that there's two statuses. You're a U.S. citizen, a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen. You have a driver's license. You're required to have one because you work for the government.
Yes.
Unless I'm hauling people or products, I'm not engaged in commerce. Only people engaged in commerce on these highways have to have driver's licenses. That's who the code applies to. It does not apply to regular Americans. Unless I have an autograph with something on it like a driver's license, which I don't have. I'm not required to have one. Now, every time you write a ticket, and you can look this up if you want to see if I'm full of shit, you can look it up and you'll find none of those tickets ever go to court. Why? Because the attorneys know I know what the fuck they're doing. These guys are sending you out here to risk your life so that they can have a steady stream of victims in these bullshit courts. How do you feel about that?
I don't like it.
I would piss me off too. I have a bachelor's in criminal justice. I didn't go to school for that bullshit so that some fucking dirtbag attorney can take my mom, me, or anybody else and drag them through their courts for revenue. That's bullshit.
Okay.
Once guys like you start standing up and telling them, hey, you know what? Go fuck yourself. I'm here to protect and serve. I'm not here to do that.
Even my chief, you can ask my chief. I rarely write tickets.
I love you, bro. I'm not kidding you. I do. If that's the way you feel, let me shake your hand. I'm not kidding you.
I'm not somebody who goes out and collects revenue for the state. That's not what I do. If somebody's putting somebody in danger, I'm more inclined to write a ticket. You know what I mean?
Of course. That's what I would do too. You're protecting and serving. You know your job.
To educate.
And that's what I do. And I take veterans out all the time. That's what I do. I actually have a ministry that serves veterans, first responders, and law enforcement who are injured in the line of duty. I take them out in the woods. I help them with PTSD. I help them recover. I help them get better. That's what I'm about. And I'm also about educating all of you guys, because you guys kill, not you, officers kill 1,200 people a year, and over 200 or something like that every 3 years die. And when people wake up and realize, it's literally the Satanists, just like it says in Revelation. The souls of men are bought and sold. How is that? It's through anything with your autograph. It's commercial. That's how they're doing it.
Okay. So, what her name is?
Donetta.
Donetta, is she?
That's my mother.
Your mother, okay.
Yep.
So, what I'll do, I'll write a written warning, okay, for just the registration, okay? I'm going to implore you to get the vehicle registered, okay?
I actually found out I can get veterans plates for free, so I am going to do that on this particular rig.
I'm not going to give you a ticket for it. I'm going to give you a written warning just to show that I had some enforcement on this stop, okay? Do you have any questions about that? I
don't. I just need a copy of it so I can send a bill to the county.
Well, no, there's not any fines on it.
Oh, no, not from you. If you read that plate, it says 10 million per stop and 100,000 per minute. We've been here now for I don't know how long, but I send a bill to the county auditor. Trust me, the next time you actually run this plate, if they tell you at all to stop me, I'm going to be very impressed.
So where did you get the plate, if you don't mind me asking?
I made it.
Okay.
It's mine. It's under a private motor carrier number on the DOT back there.
You mind if I take a photo of it?
Go ahead. It's all yours, brother.
I'll be right back.
Yep. So this officer was pretty cool. He is trying to understand the law. He's working within the confines of the law. And this gives me a lot of hope, because the more we can find people like this that are willing to actually listen to the law, listen to, reason, and really step back and understand what's going on, the faster that we're going to be able to make sure nobody gets injured on these highways, make sure nobody gets, especially our law enforcement officers. They're out there purportedly working for us, so we want to try to assist that as much as we possibly can. But until that actually happens, until we've educated enough people, it's just never going to be that way. Instead, what they're going to do is they're going to come out here and pretend like, they have authority to do this, and it's not their fault. This is how they're being trained. So again, we have to put that blame where the blame belongs. The blame does not fall on the officers. It's not their fault. It's the fault of the bar cartel members who purposely mistrain them to do stuff like this. That's their job, or at least that's what they do. And again, you have to understand who they work for. They work for the Khazarian Zionists. These are not Christians, as you guys call Christians, or believers, as I call us. These guys are all traitors to the Republic. They know better. They've taken an oath to a foreign agency, a foreign entity.
Hi, my name is...
All right, guys, welcome to the latest episode of Blood Money. Today we have a very special guest, Mahto. Did I say that right, sir?
Chief Mahto is fine.
Chief Mahto, how you doing?
Good.
Awesome. So we're here talking about a topic that's kind of become a favorite for the Blood Money podcast, which is understanding our legal rights. Understanding, for example, what a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen is, what the implications are. So, sir, I'm going to pass the mic right on to you. Tell us a little bit about your background and some of the work that you've been doing in regards to this topic.
Sure. My background is pretty simple. I'm just a little Indian boy who grew up on the Fort Peck Indian Reservation over in Montana, and left there, went to the military for a short time, ended up being a disabled vet since I was a kid, a non-combat disabled vet. I always make that distinction. And now what I've done is gone out and helped veterans and everybody else with their claims process, whatnot. I don't charge for these things. I'm just here to help if I can. However, the biggest thing that I'm trying to basically wake people to is the difference between being a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen slave and an Idahoan or whatever state citizen national. Now, when we were born in this country and they laid you on mama's chest, you were a national. You didn't become a U.S. citizen until somebody got you a social security number and a birth certificate. That's when everybody decided, no, not everybody decided, but that's basically how we get wrapped into what Revelation refers to as the buying and selling of the souls of men. How does that happen in the last days? It happens through fictitious 14th Amendment U.S. citizenship. So when you have an autograph on anything, because in this country, contract law is supreme law. So that means that you can contract your rights away. Now, the trick to it is trying to get the hell back out of that, because these guys will pretend all day long that you volunteered, that you're still under contract with them. Why? Because they know that their 14th Amendment poorly trained U.S. citizen cops and police officers don't know any better. They're going to just believe whatever's on their computer screen. So if you've been watching what's happening on the national level, there's two schools of thought, and there's really only one of two options. Either Trump is controlled opposition for the bad Jews, is what I call them, not the good ones. Okay, I'm referring to the Zionists, the ones who basically claim they are, but they're really the synagogue of Satan. Again, that's in the book of Revelation. All you need to do is read it. So what we are is we are a tribe of American Indian state citizen nationals. And what is it that we have that's different than everybody else? Basically, we're rescinding our consent for any of them to remain until we get remedy in these cases involving an assumed business name called Marcus Troy Ream, another one called Donetta Ream. Because again, you get an identification, you're using that name in business. It's not you. Okay, I can have you hold up your ID next to you and ask which one of them is breathing. You're smart enough to realize it's not the idea or the ID that is breathing, it's the man. So when you get a ticket, you get a summons, you get any of these things into one of their Nisi Prius, which is a corporate court, you have to understand that when you walk in there with your face next to the ID, what you're telling them is, yeah, I'm responsible for this identification. This is me. You can hold my body as surety for any of these bullshit debts. What do I mean by bullshit debts? If you've read the case Lujan v. Defenders of Wildlife, it says that unless there is a concrete and substantiated injury in fact, then there is no crime. It's very simple. People believe that because you're sitting in a courtroom, a guy in a black robe is up there and there's another guy calling himself the prosecutor, that you're actually in a court of law. You're not in a court of law. You're in a Nisi Prius court. It looks, walks, and talks and smells like a duck, but it's not a duck. In fact, it's all ducked up, because you don't realize that they're actually there calling out a corporate entity. And if you decide that you're going to set foot in there voluntarily, now I did it because we're law-abiding Americans. We're trying to allow them to go ahead and use the case to make some money, because that's how basically these municipalities, these cities and everything else, that's how they make their money. People think that, oh, we pay taxes and that goes to nothing that you've ever paid in taxes have ever gone to shit in this country. That's what people don't get. England, prior to Trump, owned DC. So what we're watching here with Trump's latest takeover of DC is him literally coming in for the first time since 1814, when they burned down our capital, the British, and coming back and taking it back from the British. It's also not an accident that you're starting to see all these other countries suddenly wake up. So we're in the middle of something here. It's either the Great Awakening or, like I said, if Trump's controlled opposition, then this is the final death blow to freedom, death knell. That's essentially what's going to happen, is that people are now going to be enslaved. You're going to either have to take the mark of the beast or you're going to have to starve. So Mahto Ministries, doing business as the Mahto tribe, is the only nation of people in the Republic for the United States that not only knows who we are, but we know the only way to stay safe is if we can start traveling using our own plates and having our own law enforcement officers after our election, July 4th, 2026. Why do we have to have our own election? So it's very clear. We're not part of your society. We have a different flag. We have different things that we teach our kids in our orphanages. We are law-abiding, devout, and very loyal Americans, but we very much no longer want to be associated with any of these retard 14th Amendment U.S. citizens who don't even know who in the fuck they are, much less have any of their agents out there, because that's what they are. They're revenue agents. No law enforcement officer has a duty to protect you. You may not know that, but the Supreme Court's already ruled on that. So that's exactly what's happening. You are all nothing more than free-range tax individuals to them. You're being taxed every time that the blue lights come on. Guess what? If there isn't an emergency, that's a felony. Creating a traffic stop, creating an emergency on the side of the highway where there isn't one. But who actually trains these guys? And again, I want to be clear. I'm not blaming the law enforcement officers. I'm not blaming any of those guys. There's a reason why the scriptures say, woe to the lawyers. It's because in their academies where they get their 6 weeks of training, that's who comes in and teaches them. It's all these bar cartel traitors to the Republic. And why do I say bar cartel traitor to the Republic? Because they raised their hand, took an oath to a foreign entity. They worked for a foreign government. That's exactly what the judicial information system is. This is trafficking Americans under the guise of law and order, when in reality, it's all about enslaving Americans in private prisons. Talking to a fella the other day who was telling me that, oh, these prisons aren't private, it's a state or a federal. And I was like, retard, what do you think state and federal mean? Where in the hell do you think that comes from? Let me take you back 200 years. You're out here standing on the prairie. All we have, it's 1870. We'll call it that. 1870, 1890 hasn't rolled around yet. So guess what doesn't exist? In this case, the state of Idaho, a corporate entity in all caps. You'll know it's dead because just like on gravestones, everything is in all caps. So if you're looking at an all caps corporation listed on the Secretary of State website, guess what? You're dealing with a dead entity. That's why you must be represented in court. That's why you must have a license to practice law. Why? Because the Vatican, the Holy See, they're the ones that own the copyright and trademark on the language and all of that stuff that's used in these courts. It's called legalese. It's a patented language. Now, again, if you were raised in this country, you were raised to be a nice, compliant, stupid little U.S. citizen slave because we don't know any better. Your average American just wants to go out, have a steak with his family after work, drink a couple of beers, and enjoy life. That's not what these people do. And again, these Zionists who are out here pretending like they're Yahuwah's chosen people, these guys are the ones that have created this entire system. They're hoping you don't wake up. They're hoping that you don't wake up and say, you know what? That sounds kind of good. I wouldn't mind being part of an actual Indian tribe. This chief's willing to adopt me if I'm a law-abiding American. I'm not a pedophile. I'm not an attorney. I'm somebody who's loyal to the Republic. Yeah, but you have to be willing to give 50% discounts to all of our U.S. citizen servants in all these villages. When they come in, fresh fruits and vegetables, if you bring them from home, you sell them there, guess what? That's a service that we provide to our U.S. citizens. We want to let them know, look, we appreciate you, but we need you to understand you no longer have any authority over any of us. Unless they're part of your U.S. citizen 14th Amendment retard citizenship, guess what? Cease and desist, seek life elsewhere. We don't ever want to see your lights behind our vehicles because all you've proven to us is that you're thieves, you're trained to steal, you're trained to violate rights, and you ignore anybody who tries to talk to you about those. Why? Because it's not about that with you. It's about getting them to your little courts so your judge can pretend like they have a right to throw us in your private prisons, so that your prosecutor can pretend they have a right to try to pretend as though we're actually the criminals. Guess what, people? The bar cartel members, I don't care where they work, if it's federal, if it's state, if it's city, if it's municipal, okay? If there is no victim claiming that you harm them, they're the criminals. They're the traitors. Don't overthink it. You need not think of anything more than that. And in this case, we got a widow of a Vietnam Purple Heart veteran who is over here being accused of this bullshit. Because why? Because the state of Idaho, the state of Utah, as usual, the Mormons in there, they want to take control of everybody. They want to tell you how you can worship. And that includes no longer being allowed to use something that Yahuwah himself created. Calls it the fragrant herb in the scriptures. It says to use it for medicine, to use it for food. And this to say nothing of the fact that prior to the whole reefer madness bullshit that went on when Hearst was trying to protect his paper empire, it was actually ordered by doctors in over 90% of medications. By this, I'm referring to cannabis, not marijuana, which is their name for it. So why do they do that? Because the drug companies don't like competition. Yeah, the drug companies don't like competition. Same reason you didn't hear about ivermectin, fenbendazole, and whatever else it was that you were supposed to use against this bullshit that they call COVID. You're being lied to, people. I don't care if it's about having a driver's license and needing that to get out and drive. They have changed the wording. So you're no longer exercising a constitutional right to travel. Now they're claiming that you're all commercial drivers. And you didn't know any better. You autographed the back of it and said, sure, I'll follow your rules because I'm stupid. And then when they create a false debt against the Social Security number, men don't get the fact that now they're taking away your right to travel. They're taking away your right to engage in commerce. And 99% of the time, guess what? The so-called debt doesn't even match the name on the Social Security card. These attorneys are sharp. They'll put a first and last name. That way, they can't be held liable for anything. So when you get into any one of these court cases, here's how it gets interesting, okay? I'm going to share this with you. This is how attorneys cheat. This is how judges and attorneys traffic people and make it try and look like they're actually doing something for we the people. Nothing could be farther from the truth. It's human trafficking, child trafficking disguised as law, people. Again, if there is no victim and you get some judge in there telling you, hey, you didn't pay this child support debt, you're going to jail. Guess what? That's a writ of attainder. It's forbidden under the Constitution for 1789. However, when they created the new one in 1870, guess what? Now DC got to be in charge of all the territories. Remember, I live in the territory, not in some corporate state. But they're going to pretend like you live in their state. Why? Because you're in the territory. And their agents don't know any better. All they see is, oh, look, here's a license plate that doesn't say Idaho. That should be your first fucking clue that you have no business trying to stop that conveyance or talk to that man. If it doesn't have your state plate on it, guess what? He hasn't submitted to you. In other words, he's still sovereign. His rights are intact. He didn't exchange them for the benefits and privilege of 14th Amendment U.S. citizenship. So take this one step further. The sheriff, all of your elected representatives, people, you're not Americans anymore. That's maybe the easiest way to say it. Because you're all based out of Washington, D.C. If you're a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen, you have a driver's license, you have any of these things that they're going to use as evidence of you volunteering to actually be one of them. That's what the Mahto tribe is about. It's about letting them know that, hey, guess what? I'm on to you. I get who you are. Yeah, I don't want to be one of you. Instead, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to be an Indian because this Indian chief adopted me if I want to accept the adoption. And I have to agree that I'm a loyal member to the Republic. I have to agree to give discounts to all my 14th Amendment U.S. citizen servants. And apart from that, he's also giving them notice that, hey, you tell me, Supreme Court, which one of us has the right to actually arrest, convict, and execute all of these sacks of shits? Because evidently it's not happening on the federal level. You can write to your senators. I got another letter right here that I'm drafting to them. That's going to get ignored. You can contact the FBI. They're going to ignore it. You can contact the Department of Justice. I've tried twice to go to the U.S. military installation at Fort Lewis, give them evidence. Guess what? Now I'm banned. Like I'm the bad guy. The only thing I ever did on Fort Lewis was buy some young soldier lunch. Because again, I serve my veterans. But that's what these criminals do. Now they actually try and criminalize the good guys. The guys who are going out here trying to bring attention to this. I was one of the first ones who stood up vocally when dipshit Bianco accused, Vem Miller of being the so-called third assassin. Well, how do they get away with that shit? They get away with it because they know Americans are stupid, that you're not going to ask questions. You know, the first question you should have asked is, wait a minute, they find all this stuff in the guy's trunk after he tells them he has it. Are those really the actions of a criminal? Are those really the things a criminal would do? Would he roll up to the actual law enforcement officer, hey guys, I got guns? I mean, on the surface, it's stupid. But again, your average American doesn't think that long or that far ahead. They're just going to hook, line, and sinker by anything that they tell them. So
Man,
let me
just to chime in on this topic, you know, dude, I've learned so much about the stupidity of Americans. It's actually kind of crazy. And I'm not trying to say that to be demeaning, but I thought I was part of this MAGA party. And part of what being like part of MAGA is being all about the U.S. Constitution, right? And one of the things in the U.S. Constitution is right to bear arms, period, full stop. Now, I understand that states have different ways of how to approach that. But just like you said, man, like we're driving up to deputies and just being stupidly honest, because frankly, at this point, I've realized I was stupidly honest and nobody should ever regret their honesty. But that's where I am. I went from being supportive of the cops, running for office in 2022, being 100% supportive of the cops, to now saying stuff like fuck the police because of what happened. So whatever they're doing is so wrong. And the fact that this is even, man, they've spent $500,000 fighting essentially my lawsuits. I mean, this is such a waste of money. It's like, it's full on retardation, dude. And, you know, how do you dig people up from this? And sadly, I've realized, man, that it's like both sides. You know, you say the woke left. Well, guess what, guys? There's a woke right that is living in that same fantasy world and is in the Stockholm syndrome type of situation where they've actually started to respect their oppressors against the people fighting for freedom, like myself, like yourself, that rather than saying, hey, these guys aren't to something, they want to demonize us because they don't even want to go there. So anyway, end of my rant, but that definitely hit a nerve, man.
Well, they're pussies, Vem, and that's really what you need to get to, okay? Because I want to be very clear. You should show this video to every law enforcement officer out there. Every law enforcement officer should be sharing this with every other law enforcement officer. And the thing that you need to take away from this is, guess what? This guy, Chief Mahto, his younger brother was a cop for over 20 years. He has a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. He's not an idiot. He understands exactly what's going on. What you don't understand, law enforcement officers across the entire United States, I don't care if you're federal, your state, or anybody, okay, is that you are being used. That's what's happening. They're risking your life, having you go out, conduct all these random stops. Why? So that the bar cartel members have a steady stream of victims. Think that over. How in the fuck do people get into court? It starts with you. It starts with you writing a ticket. It starts with you stopping them unlawfully in 99% of the cases. Why? Because you felt like running a plate. Have you ever heard of reasonable suspicion? Have you ever heard of any of these things that you're required to have before you can even run the plate? You don't know that, do you? It's not an accident. So every one of your law enforcement officer brothers and sisters who die out there on the highway, guess what? That blood's on the hands of every bar cartel member in every one of these bullshit Nisi Prius courts. And why do I say bullshit Nisi Prius courts? Because after the dozens of filings that I put into these courts, guess what? They protect their own. That's the big goose egg that you're going to get. You're going to waste your $405 only to find out that they're going to deny it. Same thing I did when I went to the Supreme Court. When I removed these bullshit traffic offenses to there, started my own court wide, because we have two ways to interface with our public servants as state citizen nationals. I can do that through the senators and representatives, or if you look at the definition for what an actual court of record is, it is a sovereign in his suite or suit. That means that when I get some dumb bitch at the Supreme Court for Idaho who drafts an order, one, she's violating the law of my case. My case relies on scripture. It does not rely on statute. So that means right there, no woman shall stand in judgment of a man. Shut the fuck up. Go stay in your lane. You got nothing to do with the man in my case. That's the first thing. And then the other thing they do is when you try to file another piece of paperwork in there, basically getting rid of her order, which is my right, it's my court. What do? They refuse to file it. Just like on this other case. Went in and gave them the evidence that, hey, we're appointing the public defender's office as managing agent. Why? Because that's who goes to jail. If you're in court, it's the managing agent. So the actual clerk of court tells me, oh, the judge said that you guys can't file, and my mom was trying to file it in her own case, right? Because they made very sure that I wasn't trying to practice law, which I reiterated. I don't practice law. I give opinions. I handle my own work. And I have a right to handle my mother's because I'm her guardian. I'm her administrator. She's a protected adult. In fact, the doctor just got another letter from the doctor stating that I'm in charge of all of her affairs. Why? Because she's not competent to handle them. Yet here we are. They're trying to go out here and pretend like they have a right to haul her into one of their bullshit courts. So fastest way to end this stuff, start our own nation, give them notice. Hey, guess what? Pack your shit and get the fuck back to DC. Until you want to actually follow the law, until you want to properly train your agents, we no longer consent, nor do we recognize after our election your so-called right to be out here doing shit. Not your officers, not your courts. Here's your 60, 70, 90-day notice. You give me evidence. You show me how you can ignore us, since we were the ones that created the Constitution, that created Congress, that created all you 14th Amendment U.S. citizens. We have the right inherent within the preamble to jerk that away from you anytime we want. So until we actually see national televised fucking executions for the traitors to our republic, guess what? After July 4th, just pack your shit and get the fuck out of here. We'll take it from here. That's all you need to know. Don't care about your whatever, any other bullshit. This is our legal right. It was enshrined within there for us to be able to do exactly this at exactly this time. And if you have any questions, hey, tough shit. You should have taken care of business when you were given the opportunity. When the chief told you, hey, need you to get these fuckers out of my hair, go get my passport back, give me my rights back, and remove this bullshit criminal whatever against this name over here. Unless you have a victim, guess what? This is all nothing more than just theater. That's all it is. It's human trafficking. It is nothing more than defamation of character, trying to pretend like some loyal U.S. military veteran is a threat to anybody or has committed any fucking stupid crimes. If you can't bring an actual victim, guess what? You're traitors to the Republic, and you've also donated all your stuff. Nunc pro tunc, which means now for then to 1866, because that's when you bar maggot sacks of shit showed up here on in our territories. So as far as I'm concerned, anything that your daddy, your granddaddy, your great-great-granddaddy, any of them ever made and thought that they left to you, this beautiful estate, this beautiful farm, any of these other assets, guess what? We're taking those from you. You no longer get to keep shit. Certainly not going to be armed and get to keep weapons. If you guys want to find out who has the largest hoard of weapons out there right now, I would bet you any amount of money it's the attorneys. Why? Because anytime one of the revenue agents steals one from somebody, they don't give them back. You go ahead and show me who got their weapons back after these guys took them. That should scare the shit out of every American right there. They are disarming us. They're doing it quietly. And
Which, by the way, quick note here. I'm gonna, dude. I'm just gonna let you roll because this information's so great. I want you to. I mean, more examples you could give if there's documents you could show. But one thing I wanted to mention: I still haven't gotten my guns back after 10 months. And by the way, I still don't have the body camera footage because if we had the body camera footage, it would show what a bunch of criminal scumbags these people are. But see, that's where people don't understand the tyranny. I mean, you got literally the criminals that are covering up the evidence, and there's nothing you could do about it. We tell the AG, hey, sheriff's department shouldn't be able to cover evidence, and they're like, oh, we have no jurisdiction. This is both in Nevada and California. These people are useless. They don't know how to do their jobs. They're all in it together. And that's why little people like us have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars holding them accountable when it should be the system itself prosecuting and persecuting these people for the crimes they commit against the people. So, Mike, back to you, sir.
Well, you see, I agree with you there, Vem. That's why I was saying when I drafted the Constitution for the Mahto tribe, because that's who we are. We are Mahto Ministries doing business as the Mahto tribe. And it's critical that it's done that way. Why? Because game recognizes game. But once we're established, everything is legally and lawfully established and peacefully, then we can just give them notice, hey, pack your shit and get the fuck out of our territories. You're no longer allowed to stay here. Your courts aren't. Your agents aren't. None of them. Because, again, if you wanted to follow the law, you would have proven that. What you are proving to us is that you don't work for us, that you're traitors to the Republic, and that you are absolutely laboring under the delusion that you'll never actually be held accountable for it. And I can tell you this, that if we, the people, were the ones who tell them, no, pound sand and get the fuck out, who were they? What part of them can actually ignore that? Go ahead, tell me. Because we're the ones that created their entire being to begin with. So if we just tell them, hey, look, you know what? We're kind of done watching the soap opera. Don't really give a fuck what's going on because we know Trump's got it handled. Again, we're not out here pretending like we're doing anything on the national level. We know Trump has it handled. He's our president. But from the state level down, guess what? We no longer trust you. You've proven to us you're just thieves. You've proven to us you will not follow the law. You could try to make us sit here and expend our fucking money trying to defend ourselves against your specious, nugatory bullshit. And all you do at the Senate level and the representative level, apparently, is just ignore people. So that's fine. Go ahead and ignore us. After our elections, we'll handle the courts. We'll handle the actual warrants, the arrests, the convictions, and the executions. You've got 60 days to show us how we don't have authority to do that. Otherwise, consider yourselves fucking noticed. There's really no other way to say it. We're tired of listening to it, tired of not getting shit done, tired of seeing no fucking justice on the international, or on the state levels. Because again, as long as these, what they call law enforcement officers or revenue agents disguised as law enforcement officers, as long as they're out there randomly pulling people over and they think they have a right to do that, guess what? You're going to keep getting drug into these courts. All because you needed a license or an identification to be able to go in and open a bank account, be able to get anything done. In other words, to buy or sell people. This is what people don't get, Vem, is that you're actually not dealing with a legal, lawful matter here. People are in the middle of a scriptural battle, and they don't get it. On the one hand, you got the majority of Americans that claim, oh yeah, I believe in the Most High, but they refuse to believe that there's actually a being out there named Satan and his minions, a title, and they're out here trying to actively work against everybody. They want us talking about Democrat, Republican, conservative, and liberal, when in reality, once you shuffle loose your mortal coil, guess what? You will instantly find out it was all about good versus evil. That's all it was ever about. And the only thing that they want on that side is they want you with them. They don't care how they get you there. They don't care if you're a Mason, a Catholic, a Mormon, any of these other entities that have nothing to do with following Yahuwah or his son Yahusha, and everything having to do with Jewishness, which is not Zionism. That's the other big thing. When I was in Israel, you could tell, really could tell the spiritual difference between walking into a very dark synagogue or a synagogue that was more in line with Yahusha's teachings. But we don't even know the name of the Most High. We're using these pagan names like God. Godriel was the name of the angel who tempted Eve in the garden. That's why God has become one of these fake Elohim names. Lord, if you look that up in the Strong's Concordance, it literally means Baal, Baal, the other deity that these guys used to sacrifice their kids to. Do you guys think it's an accident that the liberals, the Democrats out here support killing kids? They've been doing it for 6,000 years. They used to heat up Moloch's hens until they were red hot and put the baby in there. This is how sick and twisted they are. Now, as far as the gurus go, and this is why this will probably go viral. Okay, you got great guys out there like Andrew and Tristan Tate who are trying to teach men how to actually act like men, talk like men, and behave like men. And it's critical that men understand how to do that. Stop being chimpanzees for these 304s. Stop clicking on their fucking bios. Stop giving them all the goddamn attention in the world, and women might actually come to their senses. But now you've got young women being sexualized at, super young ages and being taught that they don't have to work on trying to be good humans. That all they have to do is get up there long enough to get some meal ticket from a guy, pop out a couple of kids, and next thing you know, the biggest homeowners in the United States are who? They're women. Why? Because they divorced men and took it from good, hardworking men. The women we have nowadays, man, are not the women of 40, 50, 60 years ago. And it's your fault. It's your fault because you keep wiping them up. And when you get a marriage license, let me explain to you what you're doing. On the diagram for the marriage license, you have the state, you have the husband and the wife, and there's a dashed line between them. If you've ever looked at blueprints, that line carries no weight. In other words, your agreement is with the state, each of you, not with each other. And a child is a sub-corporate entity. So they license that, and then they consider that to be a business arrangement, and the offspring from that, they consider that their property too. That's why it's critical. When you join the Mahto Nation, we use a marriage contract. So this isn't about just taking away their ability to stop us while we're traveling freely, because that's exactly what we're trying to do, is to protect Americans from being victimized on the highways. Because again, that's how all this shit starts. But this is about protecting kids from predatory bar cartel members and predatory females. Because guess what? If you want a divorce in the Mahto tribe, our contract automatically says that dad gets custody. Why? Because women are incapable of raising kids alone. 90% of all inmates in prison prove that. Okay. The second thing is they can't even take care of themselves 90% of the time. So what the fuck are they doing trying to raise kids? If you need a man's money to raise kids, guess what? You're incompetent. You shouldn't be raising kids. You should shut the fuck up and go find some other victim who wants to let you pop out 1 or 2 kids for him. But as for us at this tribe, we're not that sort. We protect kids. We make sure that they can't be used as nothing more than cudgels to bash men with. Now, dads are given primary custody unless he can be proven to be a danger. And false accusations actually carry penalties with us. If you want to get your ass excommunicated or banished from the tribe, that's the fastest way to do it, ladies. Bring a false accusation against a man and be proven to be lying about it. Your ass will never set foot in another Mahto village again. Why? Because we don't like dirtbags. That's why. You're liars. And if you're going to do that to kids, you're going to do that to men, all because you want to go out and ride the cock carousel. You don't want to have to be responsible for your actions. Then we want nothing to do with you. Take your white trash 304 asses and disappear. But we do protect kids. And yes, I get it that I'm a little rough around the edges for a pastor, but I'm not that kind of pastor. I don't tickle the ears. I'm going to tell you the truth, no matter how much it pisses you off or hurts your feelings or makes your vagina ache. And that's why, again, 99% of the people out here who are the so-called talking heads, they've gotten famous and they've gotten everything else. It's not what I want. I don't care about credit, don't care about being famous. I care about people pulling their heads out of their asses, stop suffering from cerebral rectimitis, where you got a shitty outlook on life with your head stuck straight up there, and start thinking. You have to think, men, and that's who I'm talking to. I'm talking predominantly to my U.S. military veterans. We're going to square that away right now. And again, you share this with every law enforcement officer out there, because I want to be clear on this. I was infantry, because law enforcement officers and firefighters, you guys need heroes too. And yes, that's exactly where the echelon is in my mind. I appreciate what you do. I appreciate the fact you want to go out there and help people, but you are not soldiers to me. You are nothing more at this point than poorly trained revenue agents who are out here victimizing Americans. Now, you don't know any better. I give you that. It's not your fault. I give you that. But after you watch this video, it is your goddamn fault. Unless you're out there protecting somebody, unless you're out there, ensuring nobody's getting hurt, that's your fucking job. It is not your job to randomly stop anybody and start accusing them of bullshit, stealing their property, stealing their weapons and everything else. That turns you into a fucking brown shirt thug. And after our July 4th elections, guess what? We no longer recognize your authority. Not to stop my people. You can stop your 14th Amendment U.S. citizens all you fucking want. But you stop one of my people with my plate, especially me, as far as I'm concerned, I'm being attacked. You had every goddamn notice. Don't do it. Stay the fuck out of my rearview mirror. I'm not your nigger. I'm not your prairie nigger. I'm not your fucking plantation nigger. And that's in spite of being black. Great-great-granddad was a Buffalo soldier, and I'm an enrolled member of the tribe. So anybody out there who has a problem with this supposed white guy using those terms, fuck you too. Come say it to my face so I can knock your fucking teeth down your throat. I'm not black enough to say nigger. Is that it? I'm not red enough to say prairie nigger. Is that it? I don't give two shits what you think, especially if you're too much of a pussy to stand the fuck up and actually stand up for we the people in the republic. Again, I don't know what Trump's doing. I don't. I don't know for sure whether or not he's controlled opposition or whether or not he's here for the people, but I know this. I know we have a right to peacefully and lawfully detach from your asses, and that the second you try to make us be part of your society, when you know goddamn well we're separate, now we have evidence that you're tyrants. Prior to that, we didn't really have that, did we? And the other thing I want to say too is that the Mahto tribal courts are the only courts in this nation that literally have an admonition that we are dissolving them immediately upon the chief getting remedy. So as soon as you want to get rid of all this bullshit against Marcus Troy Ream, that assumed business name, Donetta Ream, Chief Mahto, you want to stop pretending like we're your fucking property, guess what? Our courts are dissolved. But if you don't have that shit handled by July 4th, 2026, then stay the fuck out of the way, or we're going to line you right up next to them and hang you after you're convicted. You had your chance. You didn't want to get off your fucking fat ass and go take care of it before then, good. Pack your shit, get the fuck out, or better yet, stick around so that it's that much easier to find you. We don't have to ask your permission to tell you to get the fuck out if you don't want to follow the law. And I, as a U.S. military veteran, do not have a choice. I must protect the Constitution. And until I get one of you motherfuckers that up here at higher parts of government that actually does your goddamn job, guess what? I'll do it for you. Because I said I would as a veteran. Charge me with whatever in the fuck you want. What's it going to be? Doing your job for you? You feckless fucks. And yeah, I'm a little upset about this. Why? Because it's been 11 goddamn years of dealing with you cocksuckers without any fucking remedy. That's why. That's exactly why. My boy Vem, he had to learn firsthand that you guys don't work for us, that you guys actually work for these foreigners that call themselves Jews, but are really the synagogue of Satan. That's who you guys all work for. I don't care if it's USAID. I don't care if it's APAC. Whoever it is. They're not here lobbying for we the people. We the people haven't existed since 1870 when you created the act that created Washington, D.C. We lost our rights in 1933 with the Emergency Bankruptcy Act. We actually lost them in 1913 with the Fed. So again, I don't know what Trump's doing on the national level. All I know is that until I get remedy, I still have a duty to form the tribe. I still have a duty to give you guys notice, pack your shit, and get the hell out after July 4th. We no longer consent to any of you being here. And again, if you can prove how you have authority to ignore that, take your time. Because last time I checked, the preamble was pretty clear on that. When a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty. And stop there.
And a quick little factoid, we just released a piece called Geriatric Terrorism about how essentially following the false accusations of Bianco, they sent a bunch of cops in Vegas, evidence of interstate conspiracy to basically bully my 82-year-old dad and my 78-year-old mom into forcing their way into the house, obviously so they could frame me, so they could, do their bad cop shit to essentially help Bianco further his agenda of trying to false accuse me, destroy my life, destroy my family, whatever. The DA of Clark County, Wolfson, who's one of the most cowardly men I've ever met. I mean, I don't even call that person a man, who sees this sort of thing happen. It's very easy. Crime was committed. Bad cops. Very easy. Investigate those people. He never does. And then you have Aaron Ford, who's a former criminal, who's the Attorney General of Nevada. And you ask him and he says, oh, I don't have jurisdiction as the Attorney General. Because it's very simple. They want to protect their own criminals. And that's exactly what's happening. These bad cops, there's evidence out there that they were harassing, elder abusing my parents. They didn't have a warrant. What they were doing was illegal, okay? And it's very clear that they're trying to go inside the house. Crickets from these people. So your frustration in terms of things, this whole thing being a fraud, I mean, people are feeling it because part of our contract with these individuals is you take care of me, I take care of you. But what it's really become is that they attack and destroy your lives and they don't do shit to fix it when it's one of their cronies which is exactly what happened in my case, and it's exactly what happened in your case, and it's exactly what's happened in millions of cases. And this is why we hear things like defund the police. This is why we hear things like the system's no longer working. There's a reason to all of this stuff. And once you've been through it, you realize that these people are imbeciles, incompetents, cowards like D.A. Wolfson and Attorney General Ford and Chad Bianco and D.A. Hestrin in Riverside that's never held Chad Bianco accountable, and Rob Bonta that knows Chad Bianco's rap sheet this high, Attorney General of California, all freaking useless.
Well, again, it's useless, Vem, because, you know, people don't really have anything else to replace it with. So I was telling a friend of mine, he asked me, he said, why would you form the entire Mahto tribe? I was like, because you have the ministry here, and the Vatican believes that they have jurisdiction over your soul. That's why when they put your footprints on that cloth at the hospital, okay, which is really a military ward, and they take that, they send it to the Vatican. That's who holds those. That's why when you got somebody who's being executed, who's always there? They have the priest. Why? Because the priest is there on behalf of the Vatican to basically claim the soul after the body dies. That's why it's there. You're watching this scriptural event. It's just that nobody realizes that that's actually what they're living. And you're living this as a Vatican-owned 14th Amendment U.S. citizen. So Nick Fuentes, Mr. Catholic, if you're not aware of the fact that you're actually a piece of property when you're a Catholic, if you're not aware of the history behind the Catholic, if you don't know why the Pope wears a fucking mitre with a fish's head on it, that's because you don't understand the pagan history. That's what's happening. When you have all of the symbols that they use, these are sun worshipers, these are pagans. These are not Yahuwah's chosen people. That's where everybody needs to get to. So whether it's the Tate brothers, right? Tristan Tate's a Christian. Andrew, he's supposedly a Muslim. Great guys. I love their message. However, they're still rearranging furniture on the Titanic in a manner of speaking, because nobody's talking about how do we all become enslaved in this. You become enslaved when you become a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen. Let me say that again. You become enslaved when you become a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen, or you remain there. So how do you overcome the assumptions? You have to have an entity over here that has legal and lawful authority to exist. And since we have a church doing business as a tribe, and the only members who are allowed to join are law-abiding, loyal Americans who've not taken an oath to a foreign nation, guess what? We were the ones who ordained all the documents, like I said, that created these fools. So we have the inherent right to tell them, pack your shit and get the fuck out. There won't be any more discussion. It's just after July 4th, if they don't have a purple light, because we're royalty, so we use purple, and our law enforcement officers are all veterans. Nobody else is allowed to be a law enforcement officer in the Mahto tribe or in any Mahto village until after the other ones are properly trained. You have to pass a test to be somebody who elects our members, because we don't want retards trying to put people on our village councils. There's 12 men on every council. 7 of them have to be veterans before you can have a bona fide Mahto village. Our villages adopt the borders of every county. There's only one village in every county. And that's why. And then our territorial governments, those are all basically manned by every chief of every village in every territory. So they handle the territorial issues that come up for our members. But aside from that, we're a peaceful society, but we are a sovereign society. And we're a sovereign society that's over all U.S. citizens. And any U.S. citizen that was born here, if you have American nationality as a birthright, you can be in the village. That means you can have our plate. That means if somebody stops your lawful travels, you can get on the horn. And guess what? That's called an adhesion contract. Oh, you wanted to come into our courts? No problem. We'll go ahead and arrest you. We'll take all your shit from you. We'll go ahead and seize all your equipment and everything else. Why? Because you fucking knew better. Stay out of our goddamn rearview mirrors. We have nothing to do with your society. We are peaceful Americans, and we know the law. So if you want to keep your retard 14th Amendment U.S. citizens under your fucking thumb, and you want to keep dragging them into your bullshit courts and locking them up in your bullshit private prisons and then creating bonds and debts that you sell on the stock market, you go ahead and knock yourselves out. Leave us the fuck out of it. We want nothing to do with you anymore. You've already proven you're gun thieves. You bring false accusations against people. You fucking traffic kids in court. And apparently nobody on the national level is going to stop you, bar cartel sack of shit traitors to the Republic, except we, the people. And that's the other big thing I'm asking the senators in the letter that I'm sending here, is you go ahead and show me how you have authority to ignore when we tell you you're no longer allowed here. Go ahead. Take your time, U.S. citizen. They can't, because they're U.S. citizens. They're foreign. They're all based out of D.C. We, the people of the Mahto Nation, are Idahoans, Californians, Montanans, Washingtonians. Go look up GAO Styles Manual, Government Accountability Office, Section 2.3 to 3.0. And it will tell you that the Indians are to be known as Alaskans, Alabamans, Montanans. We are not the 14th Amendment U.S. citizens. That's really what people need to understand. Now, get this out to all the talking heads, get this out to all the different people, and you go ahead and tell them, hey, refute one goddamn thing the chief says in there. You can't. I don't do anything illegal. I don't talk anything unlawful, and I do not practice law, but I do know the fucking law. And I haven't said anything in here that could be construed as a criminal act. What? Trying to start your own nation because we can't find remedy with our own elected officials? Well, maybe you should get off your useless fucking asses and do your goddamn job for us instead of protecting, like you said, your fucking bar cartel cronies out here who are trafficking Americans and killing 1,200 a year. That's how many statistically die each year with law enforcement officers going out here and shooting people because they don't want to stop for some guy who just hit his lights for no fucking reason. Because he wants to invent a reason to drag you out of your car. He wants to invent a reason to search when he doesn't have a right. He wants to invent a reason to demand an ID from you when he doesn't have a right. Insurance, registration. Supreme Court's been very clear on this. You don't need those things. They don't tell them that because then there's no money in it. But when people realize that you can look up the certified annual financial reports, they're called the CAFA reports. That's actually what your county brings in from this bullshit, people. If you think your roads, all your other stuff, that they're built from your taxes, they're not. They're built from incarcerating Americans. That's where your bond revenues come from. That's where your tax-free municipal bonds come from, okay? And I know this because I used to be in financial services. So our entire world, our country here is designed around enslaving men, enslaving Americans, making it look like law, when in reality it's about trafficking people, for money. That's why, Donald Trump, when he was accused of a crime, okay, they came in, they read the indictment. Why don't they do that? Why don't they automatically start recording in these Nisi Prius courts? Why don't they swear in anybody? First day that I made a special appearance, judge freaked out. Why? Because I brought in my own court reporter. Well, we never had that happen before because nobody else knows you're a fucking criminal, you cunt. But I do. So if I have my own court reporter here, guess what? That's evidence that what you're doing is treason. You can pretend you're stupid. You can play dumb. Oh, no, they volunteered, really. At the point of a fucking gun, right? They volunteered to have you stop them to write a bullshit citation. That's what they volunteered for, right? So that's basically where we're at, Vem, is we're looking at getting everybody signed up. Again, the Mahto tribal courts, they're dissolved the second that they provide remedy. They get rid of the bullshit criminal record, but they're never going to do that because, again, they have to keep up appearances because the second that they don't, people might start waking up and be like, wait a minute, you mean I'm not their nigger? No, you're not their nigger. They don't own you. They don't own my black native ass, whether it's a prairie nigger or a plantation nigger. Again, I'm not your fucking property. You and your 14th Amendment U.S. citizens can go over there and do whatever in the fuck you want. But until you correct your records, as far as I'm concerned, you're a danger to the public. Until you properly train your officers, you're a danger to the public. And after our July 4th elections and we get our guys duly and lawfully sworn in, we get them duly and lawfully, agree to follow the laws for the republic, not your bullshit 1870, 1871 democracy, okay? That bullshit you guys can keep yourself and all your statutes. But after that happens, that's where we'll just give you notice. Guess what? We no longer consent to you being here. I don't know really what you were expecting. that what, as a veteran, I would just cower, that I would forget that I took an oath to support and defend that Constitution. Now, I was surprised and shocked. I thought for sure, the colonel over at Fort Lewis, Lamb's a good name for him, that pussy. But he did the exact same thing the guys that you tried to report Bianco and everybody to did. They backed all of their fellow traitors to the Republic. So they'll get away with this shit until, like I said, we wake up enough Americans and they're all like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? You mean a foreign country actually owns our country and they have since, 1870? Yep. That's exactly what it is. And the only way to get back out of it is to rescind it legally and lawfully, and then record, in the correct places in the county, your intention to be a national but not a citizen of the United States and a member of the Mahto tribe. If you get on the Secretary of State website, they try to hide it and claim that, only Samoans and, the people out there in those territories, that they get to do that. Well, anybody who even has a modicum of understanding of the law knows that equal protection means what one can do, the other can do. So until one actually writes that down, notarizes it, records it, there is no evidence that you ever intended to not be a U.S. citizen. And trust me, they will pretend all fucking day long that that's what you did. I put a $1 international stamp autographed across it, canceling the stamp. Why? Because that puts it in the United Postal Union jurisdiction outside of theirs. Now, does a cop know that? Nope. All he sees is a stamp on the back of a license, writes his ticket, goes back so daddy can pat him on the head and say, good job for bringing me some more money. But still doesn't make it legal or lawful. And if you don't show up, what happens? They put a warrant out for you, and that same uneducated officer is going to lock you up, put you in fucking cuffs, and take you to their jail. So the only way to really get a handle on our rights, get a handle on our freedom and the right to travel, because again, that's where it all starts, people, is you have to wake up. You have to join an actual society that is separate, that is legal, law-abiding, and peaceful. And no, they're not going to like it. Of course, they're going to vilify it. They're going to pretend like, he's some nut job, religious fanatic, and, whatever. Again, who cares what traitors think? I don't care what any of them think anymore. When they prove to me that they actually want to be Americans, they want to follow the fucking law, then I'll start respecting them again. Until then, I want to be very clear. Not a danger to the public, not a danger to anybody else. I'm simply putting everything out there on notice. And I am telling you that, yes, after our July 4th elections, we intend to arrest, try, convict, and execute you unless you can show us how we don't have authority to do that. Why? Because you didn't get off your fucking asses and do your goddamn job when you had a chance. So don't interfere afterwards. But this is where people either have to wake up and make a decision. Are you going to be a slave? Are you going to record, your intention to be a national but not a citizen? Are you going to join a different nation? I don't care what nation it is. Do fucking something. But as long as you remain a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen slave, you're going to be treated like one. That's why they could order you to do anything they wanted to in the civilian world. Now, in the military, we didn't have a choice. We knew we had to give up our rights if we were going to be veteran soldiers. We knew that, did it willingly. But when I got out, I sure as hell didn't believe that I was under their authority anymore. But even that, I had to figure out that until I went back in and changed the grantor, where I went into MEPS, Military Entrance Processing Station, guess what? The military still treats you like you're a U.S. citizen, soldiers. You didn't know that, did you? That's why they can recall you at any time. You're still considered their property. But my oath had no expiration date. So that's why I want to close with this as far as this diatribe is concerned. For all my U.S. military veterans, you need to understand something very simply put, okay? When you took your oath to support the Constitution, was it to the Republic or was it to a corporation called the USA based in DC? If it was a corporation called the USA based in DC, you were a fucking retard. But I'm assuming most of my fellow veterans would say no, it was always to the Republic. If you guys got the mistake that it was, to be a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen and protect this bullshit over here, well, let me just clarify. That's what recording in the county does. my intention to be a national, but not a citizen of the United States. Why? Because citizens of the United States fall under this statutory false constitution for 1871. If you're under the Constitution for 1789, then you're a national living in the Republic, traveling on the highways, or not the highways, but traveling on the trails of the territory. It may sound strange, might sound like semantics, but again, ignore it and you'll continue to be a fucking slave. But this is where we have to wake people up, Vem. We have to make them understand the difference between being a U.S. citizen, piece of shit property that they literally will treat like a piece of shit, or being an American Indian national and making them observe it. Remember, senators, the representatives, they know full well that you can't force the law enforcement officers, the courts, to do anything because it's their fucking courts. They know full well, or at least they believe, that they'll never be held to account for it. Now, me personally, I think Trump is going to come up here and do some shit that people never actually saw. I don't believe his name appears in scripture. And, you know, it was always the intent for him to be the bad guy. I think, in fact, he is here to save us. And like I said, I would be tickled, because then that means the Mahto courts never have to be. You know, we could still have the tribe because we still want to serve our veterans. We still want to serve all of those who come and trade with us. But we will never have to actually form our courts. We will never have to arrest anybody. That would be my sincere hope and prayer. But something tells me it's not going to end that way. Something tells me that we're going to have to do it, because tyrants never willingly give up control. And they know full well that unless they wake up a vast majority of the American population, or at least a minimum, that everybody's going to be ignorant enough to believe everything that the talking heads tell them on TV. So when you get people like Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, all these other people that look at this video, they're going to be like, well, what? They may have an opinion, but none of them are going to be able to refute a goddamn thing that I've said in here. And when that happens, you're going to see some shit happen, would be my guess, because they're like, well, wait a minute, you can't refute what he's saying? Then that must mean it's true. That must mean that we are actually under attack, that we are enslaved, and we don't know it. And I don't care which church you belong to. If your church says that you're following, you know, this rule, that rule, and it's all based on the Bible, B-I-B-L-E, that's short for Bible, B-A-A-L. There's a reason why there's 66 specific books, and they left the rest out, people. Like I said, we're all watching an actual scriptural event unfold here. And pretty soon we're going to see not only a lot more of what's supposed to happen in scripture, but we'll probably see who the beast is. We'll probably end up seeing who the secondary person is in that duet, because it is a duet. There's a religious leader as well as the Antichrist. But I guess we'll all have to hide and wait and see what happens there. But for now, getting everybody on the same page, getting them all in the same tribe, and having us all start to work together to serve our U.S. citizens, I think that's the smartest move for anybody. So that's pretty much my soapbox there, Vem.
Man, that's a lot of great information. In terms of people getting in touch with you, how they can get involved, is there any information you can give?
Yeah, we have the website on Facebook there. I'm actually getting the website finalized so that people can just print out the notice that they have to record and file. They have to file it first, then record it. It needs to be an assumed business name. And then after the July 4th elections, or when you get 2 to 3% in every what they call state, then it will be put on the ballot as a legitimate third party. So that's what I want to do, but I also want to make sure that we keep an accurate record of all of those, especially in my cases, your cases, because after it's established, guess what? Now we can arrest them. Now we can try them. We can take all their shit from them. But we have to get the courts and everything established first. So we do have a Facebook page. It's called Mahto Village Rexburg, Mahto Village Pierce County. And I'm working on getting the websites, the website set up to where you can click on the map. It'll give you the state, what you call a state. It'll be the territory. Then you can just get into the county, print the sheet for that county, sign it in front of a notary, go record it, and then start forming groups in the county on the first and the third Monday of every month. That's when we have our tribal council meetings. So we want people to start dialing in for those. And then also, I'm still looking for people to help set up the actual minutia for the tribe, because each village has to have its own ledger. That's how we trade. We don't use US dollars. We have our private wampum. So you bring something in, you ledger it with the village, that's your credit. So it could be vegetables, it could be a car, it could be whatever it is that you want to sell, but that's your value there. That ledger is owned by those members. It's not owned by me. It's not owned by the church. 99% of the value of that growth goes to the members. And once we have those things set up, the ledger part of it is set up. It's just a matter of getting your ledger for your village once it's established. But again, you need 12 men, and 7 of them have to be veterans to get the actual council established for the village. But once those are established, we can start giving notice, start putting basically advertisements out there for our law enforcement officers. Again, every veteran is assumed to be a Mahto law enforcement officer, except for our law enforcement officers don't make stops. We're not here to do traffic stops. If we are called anywhere, it's to protect a fellow member from foreigners trying to kidnap them or trying to steal something from them. If it comes to that, I'm really hoping it doesn't, because again, I'm assuming the vast majority of people who are going to join the tribe are going to probably be law enforcement, because they're sick and tired of being used to go out and hurt their fellow Americans as well. And I think when the majority of them understand exactly what's happening with their ticket books and how they're being used, their lives being put on the line for a bunch of bar cartel members, you don't see those chicken shits out there stopping people, do you? You don't see those chicken shits doing anything other than sitting in a courtroom and literally siphoning off the wealth of we the people when we're forced to defend ourselves against their bullshit actions. So that's what I need to see, and what I want to see is I want to see all law enforcement wake up, and I think they'll agree with us that they too want to have law and order, but we're done trafficking our fellow Americans for money. In fact, I think the best thing that we could ever see on these national televised tribunals, if Trump wasn't kidding, would be for him to announce that the bar cartel is, now going down. But that's my personal opinion, that that's who he's been after this entire time. Because if you look at it, it doesn't matter which court you're in, if it's the International Criminal Court or if it's any court in the United States, they're all bar cartel members. And when they take an oath, you look at the oath of the bar cartel, it's to their court first and their client second. So you're being lied to right off the bat when they tell you, oh, it's attorney-client privilege and my duties to the client. They're liars, people. Everything that they're doing in these courts, they're liars. If there's no victim, if you're out there cruising around, you hurt somebody, now you've got an Article 3 action. Now you have an actual criminal court. But if it's some ticket, some asshole wrote claiming that you did this 50 miles an hour over, or you had this, or it was a DUI or whatever, I don't give a shit. They're all statutory. They're not crimes. Then you know you're being played. You know you're engaged in nothing but human trafficking disguised as law. Any questions on that, Vem?
No, brother, this is very fascinating, man. I really appreciate you coming on to the Blood Money podcast. For the viewers out there, definitely check out americahappens.com, where, this sort of thinking that we're talking about is all over our website. We're going to have Chief Mahto back as well in the future. And this is the sort of thing we got to, start thinking about. As we're doing this podcast, I'm looking at this Clark County DA, Wolfson, that's running for office again after he let literally my parents be terrorized. You know what I mean? So these people are not working for us anymore. I'm an example of a victim of what happens when the law doesn't work for you. And, kudos to you, brother, for these ideas and really taking us away from this slavery situation that we're in, because we just have no protection under the law. People's kids are being taken. These kind of scumbags like Wolfson and Hestrin and Bianco and you name it. I mean, they will not do anything. They're just protecting their corrupt little cabal. And this is a method that we have to look into,
Well, remember, it doesn't matter where you're at. They own the monopoly board. And that's really what people have to understand. You're on a monopoly board. They own the money. They own the buildings. They own all commercial entities. I don't care where your company is registered. If it's registered in a state, all states have a P.O. box at whatever Constitution Avenue in D.C. So if you want to engage in commerce, you want to buy or sell, that's the trick that these assholes pulled off that people need to really wrap their minds around. Because you need an ID to do anything. I don't care if it's open up a bank account. I don't care if it's to rent a property. And what do they want to do? They want to tie you to that social security number, even though you're not required to have one. They didn't exist prior to the Social Security Administration. So how in the hell did people actually do anything? That's what I'm saying, is that we've all been brought up to believe that, oh, we can't live in society without having all of these accoutrements. No, you actually can. It's harder, because they try to, in my case, shut down your ability to have a bank account, shut down your ability to start a company. They do all these different things to try to force you into submission, or they bring up bullshit false charges against you and then try to get their flunkies to go and arrest you, throw you in a jail cell where they'll poison you or just flat out kill you. People get killed every fucking week or every other month from being, basically becoming aware of this shit and then going out and starting to share that with people or try to teach people. And guess what do? They go out and they bump your ass off. So yeah, I hope I get to see you again, but I'm not going to, put any bets on that, because guys like me are dangerous and super dangerous to their system. Not only do I understand it, but hey, here's a methodology, people, for you to escape. Now it ends, like I said, all of it ends the second the chief gets remedy. I get my weapons back, the bullshit criminal records expunged. But I don't think that the bar cartel members in Washington are going to let them do that. Whoever I pissed off over there, I must have pissed off somebody pretty important, because they put the fix in with every bank. They put the fix in with all the other courts. These guys are straight fucking criminals and terrorists. So if you thought you had it bad down there in Orange County, like I said, I don't know who I pissed off, but I'm pretty sure it was one of the higher ups that was probably sitting there kind of skating around in some low-level court until he could retire. But yeah, whoever it is over in the territory of Washington that's now affecting everything in Idaho and everywhere else that I travel, these guys are doing a good job trying to keep me under the thumb. They're going to do that with the Tate brothers too. Like Tristan Tate said, they wouldn't give him a bank account. Well, fine. After the Mahto village is established, fuck your bank account. We don't care. We trade and wampum, and all of our stuff's privatized. So if we want to bring in, you can't use the Mahto plate on anything that's financed, because that's still in the public. But if you own your own private conveyance and you want to get a Mahto plate for that, it's $2 a month for civilians, $1 for veterans, and $0 for combat veterans. So that's what we're all about, is privatizing everything, separating ourselves from them, telling them, stay the hell away, go do your thing. But if you decide you're going to stop one of us, that's your adhesion contract. Nobody said you had to do that. That means that under RICO, which you guys are subject to statutes, not us. So under RICO and everything else, as far as I'm concerned, you've donated your property, and I'm confident that 12 men will agree with me once we get them on that jury, or 16 or 25, depending on what the number is for the grand juries. But like I said, until we see something on the national level that, hey, the jig is up, no more getting trafficked in these courts, then unfortunately, as a veteran, I don't have a choice. I have to proceed in this manner, set up the tribe, get everybody on board, go out and let them know, hey, we're going to remove these cases here to our court, and then we're going to hear the counterclaims here. We'll come over and take care of all of you after we have you convicted. And again, you could have stopped at any time by dismissing all the fucking charges and leaving me alone, going and getting my property back and forgetting you knew me. We would have all gotten along great. But again, that's not how these fuckers work. They always have to try and win. And what do you know? So do I. So I guess we'll see what happens.
Awesome, brother. Awesome. For the viewers out there, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Blood Money. Make sure you check out AmericaHappens.com, where we have a lot of our featured episodes. Make sure you follow me at Not Vem Miller. A lot of stuff is coming up, and frankly, a lot of stuff pertaining to this issue, where our fight for freedom, really we're working on a lot of stuff locally. We went after Chad Bianco, exposing Chad Bianco. Now we're about to take it to another level, where we're about to start exposing the head of the snake, and that is England, that is Britain. Britain is currently falling apart. It desperately needs a revolution. A lot of these bad ideas came from England. So, big F you to the system out there in England. and we're going to keep exposing those fuckers. So thank you so much for joining us for this episode. I will see you on the next episode of Blood Money.
Over the last 30 years, we have seen the value of our work diminish and the price of real assets like land and homes increase to the point that for most people under the age of 40, the hope of owning their own home has been lost. The response of governments around the world to the 2008 global financial crisis and COVID was to defer the cost of these events to the future. They did this by printing money, in effect selling our futures to pay for their bad decisions. This is corporatism, not capitalism. Money printing didn't hurt those in power, nor those who supported them, because they had real assets, property, shares in businesses that rose in price to match the inflation of money supply. But for most of us around the world, it sold our future for a fraction of its value. In response to this, a mysterious figure known as Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin. He wanted to create a currency that could not be printed on command, thereby devaluing our labor. A currency that could be traded electronically between people without intermediation, allowing all of us to participate fairly in the economy. But if you tried to buy your groceries with Bitcoin, you'd stand at the checkout for at least 10 minutes, probably hours, waiting for the transaction to process, and the fee would cost you more than the carton of eggs and bag of apples. Bitcoin's limitations meant that it stopped being considered a currency in 2016 and was instead called a store of value. But it opened the door for someone to create a genuine currency that nobody controlled, but everyone could use. That someone is us. We created the Gajumaru blockchain and the Gaju currency. The Gaju is real money you can use, whether that is to buy a loaf of bread, pay for a haircut, buy a t-shirt, in fact buy or sell anything. It is a currency for everyday use. On Gaju Market, anyone can buy and sell any legal goods or services, just like you would on eBay, but at a fraction of the cost. Like Bitcoin, Gajus are mined on a computer. Unlike Bitcoin, mining Gajus does not require specialized equipment, nor huge power supplies. During our protected rollout, you can mine this on everyday computers, like the ones that sit in your home doing nothing for most of the day. We are working to get millions of people like you to mine the Gajumaru and be rewarded with Gajus that you can then use as real money. At the end of 2026, the Gajumaru will open to public mining. By then, we will have brought together millions of people like you to mine the Gajumaru. This will create such powerful combined computing capacity across so many millions of people that the Gajumaru can remain highly decentralized, enabling an economy for the people, by the people. To make all of this possible, we offer a variety of mining packages that combine all of the software and services you need on our website, gajumining.com. The software is simple to install, and there is a step-by-step guide that will get you mining and participating quickly and easily. You can buy those packages now. You can start mining the Gajumaru and being rewarded in Gajus now. Select a suitable mining package from the gajumining.com web store. Install and activate the software on your device and start mining today. This is an opportunity to be part of a movement to restore our humanity, our dignity, our sovereignty, creating a better future for everyone. For the first time in thousands of years, you will directly benefit from your work, your ideas, without being taxed by intermediaries or needing permission to be part of the global economy. We believe that capitalism is I win, you win, we all win, not I win, you lose. That's corporatism. We refuse to pursue venture funding that would demand we play the corporatist game, and chose instead to grow this movement by giving everyone the opportunity to benefit from their contribution to the movement. Just like being able to mine Bitcoin in 2008 or 2009, getting early access to mining the Gajumaru now allows you to mine the greatest number of Gajus and benefit most from being part of this movement. We want to share that with you. We want the whole world to be part of this. We want everyone who cares about our future to get on board and take this from a movement to a reality. We want to see an economy for the people, by the people, now. Join us. Put your fingerprints on humanity's story, our history. Be a leader in the economic emancipation of humanity. It's simple. Go to gajumining.com, select the mining package that's right for you, and get started today.